That I will be looking at is basically our experience in transforming some of the terminals uh, within domestically as well as internationally, and how the digital platform has been used, and what are the impediments, domestic challenges, okay, that we are facing in getting people to accept, adopt, and uh, implement or automate using the digital platforms. Now, Business 4.1 is one initiative. Let's look at, I think I don't need to get into the challenges that the industry is facing. Uh, I think since morning we have heard quite a lot about different challenges that the port shipping and logistic industry is facing. There is always an impetus on improving the performance, productivity, so the internal KPI and the KPI at the value chain level. Those are quite important. The cost is another impetus. Uh, Capacity expansion, so they want to open another terminal, looking at the dearth of skill, capex and requirement, and the investment that they have to undertake to open a new terminal. This is always a very intimidating kind of adventure. So for most of the terminal operators. So we looked at our Business 4.0 initiative, and we looked at, how can we improve this experience. I mean, when you business want to expand, okay, a terminal shipping company or a port or a terminal operator, they want to expand, how can digital platform be leveraged, okay, to ease that pain or the journey, okay, of expanding into new areas, new ventures, or new business models and all. So I will not dabble too much into the problem, challenges. I believe everybody knows about what all challenges that industry is struggling with, be it on the cost side, revenue side, or the skill side. So we have challenges at people, process, and technology. Now, when we looked at the Industry 4.0, which was the term coined recently I mean 3-4 years back, okay, which was looking at the technology opportunities, okay, digital platforms and related opportunity, and how that can be used actually to transform the businesses. So what it had was mostly the focus on the technology platforms, the artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud, mobility, social media platforms, IoT. How are they going to be used for industry to get into this age of what we are calling as qualifying as a Industry 4.0? We looked at another dimension to that. We called it Business 4.0. So what we added to that is the experience part of it. So it is not just the technology thing, okay? The focus was too much on technology, how technology can be adopted, leveraged, to transform current industry into the next digital age. So as a part of Business 4.0, what we said is that a digital platform should not be looked at just a technology thing or an IT thing. Okay, it impacts processes, it impacts people. Okay, so we need to take all these three. Unless we are looking at all these three dimensions, okay, the experience aspect of the transformation will not come. A lot of time we look at any IT transformation initiative as just an IT project, which starts with the project being funded, some vendor getting hired, and once the project goes live in production, that's about it. And that is where we decide that the project is done. The project, when we look at the digital platform and the digital age and related challenges, we say that it goes beyond that. It starts with a business problem. It starts with a business value challenge. How can we give more value to the business and the experience to the stakeholders? And it goes beyond the project going live, and it goes all the way up to understanding how did it impact the life of the stakeholders. Okay, understanding the experience of those people. So we looked at all these three dimensions, people, process, and technology dimension. We looked at how can we give them a better experience at all these three levels, okay? So there were certain process-related initiatives that we looked at, or innovations which were happening. There were some people capability and maturity-related innovations which were happening, and there was some technology. So we have built a portfolio of capability that can be leveraged together to actually give you that experience that we are talking about. Now, lean techniques, they are not just limited to the process. There was lean integration, lean processes, and all that talk that has happened before. The shipping industry as well, they should be looking at the lean. And when we are talking about lean, we should be looking at the entire value chain processes, not just in isolation, department-wise. Most of the places where we went for the digital platform adoptions or any implementation or initiatives, we found that they were always looking at a silo. Okay, there was never a strategic long-term focus. They were always talking about, okay, I want to give this service to this customer. And that customer was never involved in the decision-making process, okay? He gets to know about that particular service at the end of the delivery, okay? So basically, I don't want to dabble too much here, but Business 4.0, that the concept that we created, it is more focused on the experience part of it, besides the technology. As a part of that, we also created smart port concept. What is a smart port? When to say that a certain port has reached that level of maturity when we qualify them as a smart port, okay? So there are certain measures that we define. So sustainable, we have been talking since morning that it is not just one-time venture, it needs to be sustained. It needs to be ready for today and ready for tomorrow, okay? So we need to define that tomorrow, and we need to work towards that tomorrow. Measure. So if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. That's a phrase that goes, right? So it should be measurable. If you can't measure it, certain aspect, that means there is something wrong with the processes that is defined there. And data, of course, is going to be the key here. Okay, so you need to capture as much data with regards to your enterprise so that you can measure it properly. Automation, that is one thing. Automation, depending upon the maturity level that you exist, automation would mean different things. So some may look at it as like completely manless terminals, and even if you are having the initial level of maturity, in which case having an ERP solution itself in place is that level, that automation definition for you. Resilient, responsive, and agile. These are the two terms that we looked at it, that every time we look at any initiative, IT initiative, okay, we look at, the mega projects, million-dollar projects, hardware, software, servers, vendors. There are too many variables, okay, that get mixed up. We should be learning quite a lot from these small, what do we call them, the mobile apps. The way they launch the services. Look at, there was a discussion about cost and experience, okay? We should be always addressing the cost part, always. Okay, because cost is important in this because of the margin pressure and all that. But when I look at the Apples and Googles and Amazons of the world, okay, they have shown us that experience, okay, of the customer on the services, okay, can give you more money. Okay, that can be leveraged as well. So cost, certainly important, and that should be always internal. So you should optimize make your processes efficient and all that. But if you're not focusing on experience of your stakeholder, then it is not a sustainable way to grow. So of course, the initial motivation has to be cost, or normally it is always the cost, but you have to develop a roadmap to move from the cost to the experience so that you can get better buck for your investment. Transparent and connected. So when we talk about PCS and any other initiative, that is all about connecting with the rest of the world, okay, in whichever way. We talked about port-based industry, port-based cities. Okay, what all it requires is looking at the services, looking at the expectations of those communities around, and then building product and services, focusing them in an agile manner. We should not be taking it like 2-year projects, and after 2 years, we realized that product or the service that was designed initially, it was of no use. So we should be moving towards that in a very agile manner. I see that a lot of times the IT project get marred into this cost overruns or the expectation overruns, and then they get discarded. And that is why we are saying that agile. So be it the people level agility, the process level, or the technology level, okay? All these three sections, we need to drive, or we need to motivate, we need to train people with the lean practices and agile practices to adopt these digital platforms and deliver the product and services which can make this industry sustain. Now we also talked about the maturity model. Okay, we looked at the smart people to smart ecosystem. Okay, if you look at the lower, the novice level, Uh, Most of the shipping lines, or sorry, shipping lines, any industry we look at it, okay, they focus more on the smart people. Okay, I have the smartest people in the world. They will run my processes, they will run my business in the smartest way possible, and they will give me the benefits, or they will give me all the stakeholder related expectations that they have, cost margins, revenues, and all that. Now, what we are talking about, migration from that thinking, smart people, to smart system, all the way to smart ecosystem. And it's a transition, okay? You start from being novice, so depending upon the maturity of the ecosystem as well, that drives, where you stand, what kind of initiatives are going to work for you. So you can't sit in, let's say, India and talk about a very automated vehicle booking system, okay, for that matter. Why? Because the ecosystem is not mature enough. You are looking at your hauliers, which have to drive all the way from different inland depots and all that, and you can't, predict the behavior of or you can't predict the traffic and congestion and all that. So even if there is a vehicle booking system and you have defined slots and all that, and they have done the booking for the slot, what if they miss the slot for traffic regions and congestion regions and all that? So you need to understand the core capability, the strength of that ecosystem, and then you have to decide your product and services, and then you gradually take them all together. You can't leave one of them off the grid and say that, okay, I will get maturity level 5, okay, or the whatever binary level that we are looking at, and the rest of them, I will leave them. So basically, it's a collective effort. So when we are looking at a smart port, we are not talking about just a single terminal being smart. The whole ecosystem need to be taken. So if there is one with a higher level of maturity, they need to take everybody along. They need to bring everybody at par. And that is what I see, what we lack in most of our initiatives. Now, some of the opportunity that we looked at, that where the IoT, big data, machine learning, and all that initiatives can be taken up. So we looked at the latency. Okay, the changes, the way, the speed at which the changes get introduced. Okay, that is very high. So IoT can certainly bring people, processes, and technology together. Okay, where the changes can be anticipated, predicted very fast, and they can be acted upon. The same is safety and security, okay? This has been used, the IoT platform, analytic platform, or big data platforms are quite a lot getting used into the safety and the security aspect of, be it defense, what do you call it, the term used, perimeter defense and all that, okay? So industrial campuses and all that, they are highly, leveraging this platform, IoT platform, to secure their premises and all that. Similarly, sport is another secure place, or the place that has to be, kept secure. Now, some of the initiatives that we are going into, or we are already interacting with the rest of our existing customers as well as the new customers, we are looking at all these different initiatives. E2 is one initiative that I want to talk about. Why? Because it is equipment to equipment, okay, communication. So that is one pilot initiative that we have undertaken as a co-development, wherein we are letting equipment talk to each other rather than, so we are looking at edge analytics, okay? So what that edge analytics means is that a container talking to key crane, or STS. STS is talking to an ITV. ITV is talking to RTG, or straddle carriers, or sorry, RMGs and all that. So these equipment should be able to talk to each other. They understand the context in which they are operating. They are, with the communication between equipments, they should be able to automate or handle the exceptions if there is any. So if anybody is interested in knowing more details, we are already using container and damage recognition, deep learning technologies there, are the algorithms related to that. Job recognition, inventory reconciliation, we are also using drones. We have recently done some work with Amazon on inventory reconciliation. The same thing we are piloting with one of our customer. Remote controlled equipments. So it's not that they are not happening in India. They're quite, again, the challenges related to private and public enterprises are different. Okay, private enterprises are more risk prone. I mean, they are ready to take the risk. They are ready to invest in R&Ds and all. So they want to get into this digital world ASAP, because their competition is on the same level. When I look at the challenges, I mean, the first challenge, even going through the sessions before, the mindset, okay? Uh, we are not mature enough, okay? Our ecosystem is not mature, okay? And so I believe since morning we have already touched upon most of these line items as some of the problems that we are struggling with. And we need to be bold. I mean, unless we are bold and able to take some bold decisions and have some level of understanding of what all it takes to get into or harnessing the digital platform to enable them to the next chain terminal and port. At least what we have good of in the sense is that all the pain related to automations, leveraging the digital platforms and all that has been already been taken care of by our predecessors, looking at Europe and US and all other places. If we take the cue from them, learn from them, certainly we will have less trouble handling these platforms in enabling our automation initiatives and all that.